When you think about faith, you think about God, serene, holy, majestic. But when you think about fashion, you think about excitement, fabulous, fantastic, fanciful, even a little vain. Well, you think this is polar opposites, even adversarial. But I'm here to tell you that they have a multi-level relationship. Well, who am I? Like you said, I'm Tobi Rubinstein, but I was voted most likely to shop in my high school yearbook of Beis Yaakov, Queens, an all-girls yeshiva, which is a Jewish parochial school. Now, that's a pretty low bar, but I took it as a challenge. I went out and bought my first Diane von Furstenberg wrap dress, and I set out to go into the schmata business, which is what the fashion industry used to be called. I started with some low-level jobs, and I finally landed a great job for a private label manufacturer for Victoria's Secret. So I went from Beis Yaakov to Victoria's Secret. Not bad. There I learned about pagination and the art of shopping stores in Paris and Milan. Then I became a manufacturer myself and licensed Nicole Miller and then Crunch Gym Apparel. After that, I co-founded the first female urban hip-hop brand going straight to mass market, Kmart, in the time when hip-hop was huge. There, I could have learned how to get my MBA. But midlife came and a really bad divorce. And I could have had a crisis, a midlife crisis. But I had a midlife rebrand. I went back to school and became something very unlikely, a rabbi. Now, what do I do with this duality? I came up with a brand called the House of Faith and Fashion. Being the house of worship, the house of Chanel, together made a great brand. Well, I thought I was a genius. It was very misunderstood. Maybe I was ahead of my time. Maybe I was before my time. Maybe God didn't give me the right time. But I spent most of my time trying to explain this crazy duality that I have. So I shelved it, went back into the fashion industry, this time in fashion production, which is production of fashion shows for New York Fashion Week. Well, 5 years ago, I was diagnosed with cancer. And that gave me an urgency that I might be out of time. And I resurrected the House of Faith and Fashion, took a leap of faith, and wrote my first book. I had no idea what I was doing, but I did it anyway. I collected essays that I had written and put it together in a book about my two loves, which was Judaism and fashion. I even found a way to sanctify my Manolo Blahnik. See? And sure enough, I was contacted by Muslims, Christians, Jews, and every denomination in between, where they found a message inside my book. Some essay spoke to them. And I was really moved. The diversity of what I had can be explained like this. On one side, my book was sold in a Judaic bookstore in Jerusalem. On the other side, I was branded Fashion Rabbi Barbie, which I'll explain later on, by the legendary Iris Apfel and the godmother of New York Fashion Week, Fern Malice. The spectrum was wide, and I knew that I had found my message. So what is my message? What is it? What do I find? God is a master couturier. Okay? God is the original designer. Long before Chanel and Balenciaga and Tom Ford and Tom Brown, there was God. And where did I find that? I found that at the Heavenly Bodies exhibit at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. It was a magnificent exhibit. It was the vestments of the Catholic Church. It was exquisite. And all the designers' interpretations. And I was in awe. I thought this was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. I walked out, took a moment, said, you know what? I'm a little upset. Why don't you start with God? God made the first vestment. After all, didn't he design the high priest vestment outfit in 2 chapters in the Torah, in the Bible? I mean, give him credit. He gave you instructions about lace, embroidery, jewelry, trim. But you can go all the way back. Let's go back to Genesis, where God put his atelier together. Animal prints, engineered zebra prints, floral prints, the Pantone color chart of the rainbow, feather trim, the fish scales of sequins, the trim of a jellyfish. This is all God's designs. And designers have been trying to copy God since the beginning of time. Then God has a dress code. Did you know that? When you get an invitation to a wedding, it usually tells you black tie, formal wear. Guess what? God has a dress code, and it's called modest. In Judaism, it's called tzniut, which is modest in Hebrew. And God tells you what to cover up and what you can't expose. And what's the point of that? Because the body needs to be treated like a majestic vessel and can't be exposed to just anything. That includes a hair, which is usually covered by a wig or a hat or anything that covers your hair. In Islam, it's sort of the same. There are things that are haram, which is forbidden, and things that are not. Women cover their hair with a hijab, and they wear an abaya, and it's meant to be non-provocative. Doesn't mean it doesn't have to be beautiful. Now, in Christianity, you guys invented Sunday's best, and you do it best on Sundays. Or you can turn on the television and you can see beautiful ministers dressed, serving their sermons, just magnificently dressed. But modest doesn't have to be boring. You don't have to be looking like you're 10 minutes away from a funeral, if you know what I mean. Look at this. This was a show that I produced along with St. Thomas University of a Muslim, Christian, and Jewish designers. It was the first one done for New York Fashion Week, and we repeated it again. Modest is a big business. It has a fashion category of its own. Zara, ASOS. You can just click on and find Modest everywhere, and it's projected to do $375 billion worth of business in 2025. And God has a vestment collection. He has his own designer wear. Okay, much like a baseball player puts on a uniform or a chef wears an apron to cook, God has his own fashion in service. And you could see by the bishop's robes or the talis with a prayer shawl that my husband wears to shul every day, to synagogue. Yes, I did remarry, thankfully. Or an imam who has a beautiful robe and a cap, or nun's habit, or my grandfather's couturier white gown and cap that he sings Kol Nidre in. These are all things that are really important to God because it's his collection. In 2006, I went to an interfaith gala and I sat on a couch in the lobby and was mesmerized on how beautiful the attire was that I saw from all the religions. Recently, I gotta get this right, Jean-Charles de Castelbajac, known for his streetwear, has designed the clergy wear for the reopening of Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris. So now designers are working for God. So I'm a work in progress, and I'm always willing to learn. And aside from having a second book, a TV show, I actually do have my own Barbie, Rabbi Barbie, that was gifted to me by Mattel, complete with a modest pink outfit and a good rendition of my sheitel, and I'm very proud of that. But what can you learn from this? Well, 3 things. If through fashion you can recognize God's designs, then you will have elevated your wardrobe to divine status. 2, if through fashion you can learn about other religions and their practices, whether they're the same or different, you can build a more understanding, tolerant, rather exciting world. And God knows we need that right now. But 3, if you could do both, if you could do 1, which is establish a relationship with God, and 2, establish a relationship between you and your neighbor, if you could do both through fashion, then you are officially red carpet ready for the runway of life. Thank you.